Hi everybody, good evening and welcome to the Graduate Admission and Funding session. My name is Ratna Wijaya and I'm an advisor at the Education USA Center in Surabaya. I'm honored and excited to be here today. I was once a student in the United States and I hope I can share some of my experience going through the application process which you probably are going through right now. And if you have any questions, just type them in. I will try to answer them at the end of the presentation. So let's start with the admission requirement. In the United States, application requirement can vary greatly from one institution to another. So it is very important to check the specific requirement on the website of each institution's international admissions office. Application packages require a great deal of preparation and planning. You will benefit by starting this process early. In general, you can start this process as early as 6 to 12 months prior to your study. Firstly, by understanding clearly the admission requirement for each college, university, or program. All of the admission requirements are usually accessible on the university's website. And then you will need to gather all your educational credentials, register and take the required standardized tests, contact your professor, supervisors to request for recommendation letters, and you will need time to write your personal essay. Acceptance to a graduate program is often based on the right match between the departmental needs, funding, and available positions, and the applicant research interest, academic ability, and financial need. So it is up to the applicant to show the department and university through the application package that he or she is the right match. So now let's take a look at what this application package consists of. Educational credential. Your most important educational credential is your transcript. Your transcript is a list of classes you have completed in your undergraduate studies and the grades you received in each class. An original transcript or certified copy is required for each program to which you plan to apply to. So have your undergraduate institution send the transcript directly to the school of your choice and make sure you follow the instruction. Some schools will require you to send a copy to general admission office and another to the department or program. The program may also require verification of your transcript by a foreign credential evaluation service. If required, this service will provide the admission office in the state course and grade equivalencies to the US higher education. Oftentimes, scores of standardized tests are required to assess your English proficiency level and academic ability. A few examples of the common English language tests that may be required include the TOEFL, Test of English as a Foreign Language, IELTS, International English Language Testing System, Pearson, Test of English or PTE. For academic ability, examples of tests that may be required include the GRE. GRE is a standardized tests of verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, and analytical writing that measures your readiness for graduate level study. GMAT is a standardized test for MBA applicants that measure basic verbal, mathematical, and analytical writing skills that have been developed over a long period of time through education and work. LSAT is a standardized test that provides a standard measure of acquired reading and verbal reasoning skill that law schools can use as one of several factors in assessing an applicant. And then the MCAT is a standardized multiple choice examination designed to assess problem solving, critical thinking, writing skills, and knowledge of science concept and principle prerequisite to the study of medicine. The DAT is another test conducted by the American Dental Association, or ADA. It is a multiple choice test designed to measure general academic ability, comprehension of scientific information, and perceptual ability. In addition to your transcript and then standardized tests, you might also be required to submit recommendation letters, usually 2 to 3 letters typically required by graduate programs. It should be from faculty members who can discuss your ability, your academic or research potential if possible. If not, from supervisors, colleagues who can testify to the students' professional performance. Letters discussing students' ability to teach can also be helpful. At any rate, letters should be from recommenders with experience in the proposed field of study. And then another critical part of your application is your personal statement. Your personal statement gives you the opportunity to show admission committee who you are as an individual. And it gives you an opportunity to sell yourself to the school. The school usually want to gain some insight into your character and personality, but they cannot see it from your transcript or grades. So your personal statement is your opportunity to show them who you are as a person. And it is also a way for the school to capture you, to capture your character, in addition to your other educational, to capture your character besides your grade, which cannot be provided from your transcript. So take your time, do some soul searching, and customize your statement to fit the requirement of each institution. Whether your personal statement makes a positive or negative impressions, or no impression at all, depends on your judgment in deciding what to write about, how you write it, and how you present what you have to say to the reader. And no matter what your statement is about, it should be clear, concise, persuasive, and show that you are the right match to the university or the department you are applying to. Okay, we will now Discuss about the funding for your study. As in the case with admission requirement, which varies greatly from one institution to another, the cost of study, the cost of living also vary greatly from one institution to another and from one place to another. With the right amount of planning and research, study in the USA can be made affordable with high return on your investment. And as with all the application process, it is best to start as early as possible. So at least 3 to 9 months prior to your US study, you should make your budget, plan on ways to reduce your costs, and apply for financial aid and scholarship. Now, make your budget. You should start making your budget as early as 3 to 9 months prior to your study. And as you work to develop a budget, keep in mind that the overall costs are comprised of tuition fees and living expenses. Living expenses itself consists of your room and board, book and supplies, health insurance, which is mandatory for international students, and then personal expenses, transportation, which can be low or high depending on where you live, near or very far from the campus. Your actual cost will depend your institution and program. You can refer to the institution website for specific costs. And when budgeting, you should also estimate that tuition increase 6 to 10% each year. And as you begin developing your budget, ask yourself this question: how much money can your family afford to pay for your education each year? Because you cannot qualify for need-based financial aid until you know the answer to this question. The need-based financial aid amounts are usually based on the difference between the college or university cost and what your family or you can afford. So try to raise as much money as you can from family sources, because most scholarship awards, if available, cover only part of the total educational cost and living costs and may not be available to first-year international students. Remember, develop your budget early in the application process and find creative ways to reduce your costs. Then you could be one of the hundreds of thousands of international students who are able to afford higher education in the United States. Ways to reduce educational costs. For example, you can look for colleges and universities that offer you the highest quality education at a lower cost, such as go to state university, which usually is cheaper compared to the private university within that state. And then apply to college or universities in areas of the United States that have a lower cost of living, such as in the South or in the Midwest region. And you can also reduce costs by attending summer courses if available, and consider intensive one-year accelerated program. Many universities now offering one-year MBA program or other master's degree program. Now here's a chart that shows you the primary source of funding for international graduate students in the United States. Financial aid can come from various sources, starting with personal and family funds, and also from United States and foreign institutions, government and sponsors such as companies and foundations. If we look at the charts here, for the academic year 2011 through 2012, 50% of international graduate students relied on their own personal and family funds as their primary source of funding. And many of these students may have received financial aid from other sources, but still they relied on family funds as their primary resource. And then 42% of international graduate students relied on US colleges and universities as their primary source of funding. Other types of funding, such as home government or institution, US and foreign private sponsors, and the US government, accounted for less than 10% of primary sources. At Education USA centers, advisors have access to resources that help you learn about scholarship and new programs, and we share unbiased information about financial aid opportunities. We have a list of more than 800 universities or colleges in the United States that offer financial aid, partial financial aid, and some of them offer full financial aid to international students. So you're quite welcome to use it at the Education USA centers. In addition to merit-based and need-based financial aid, US colleges and universities offer two basic types of aid at graduate level: assistantship and fellowship. During assistantship, graduate students will work for an academic department at the institution in research and teaching. Assistantship can pay for tuition and provide the graduate student with a stipend to cover the living costs. To qualify, usually an interview is typically required, and good academic standing at the institution must be maintained. Fellowship may also be available to graduate students in certain academic fields. They can come from governments, the institution themselves, and other organizations. During a fellowship, the graduate student will conduct research to earn a degree, and funding to cover the costs of that research will be provided. Remember that graduate financial aid is reserved for the most promising applicants, those with highest academic potential, and a history of research and teaching experience would be quite helpful, and the overall strongest application from the pool of applicants. Okay, if you look at the financial aid facts, it is also important to note that funding for US college and universities varies by field. In the STEM field, 82% of PhD candidates are awarded funding through their US universities. STEM stands for the science, technological, engineering, and math fields. In the humanities and social science, 56 of the PhD candidates and 41% of master candidates are awarded university funding. In other professions such as business or MBA, health, law, communication, education, funding from university is rare. Most students are funded by personal or private sources or loans made available through the universities. Okay, in addition to the financial aid I mentioned, there's also some other ways to reduce the cost, which is on-campus employment. As an international student, current U.S. immigration regulation allow the international students to work up to 20 hours per week while school is in session. And while school is on vacation or breaks, and international students can work up to 40 hours. And all of this employment must be on campus. The employment on campus is not guaranteed, and it will depend on availability of the job on campus. And the average pay is between 1,500 to 2,500 US dollar per year, which can help with the personal expenses. It is important to check with the international student advisor on campus before considering any kind of employment and to learn more about the on-campus employment opportunities. Another type of financial aid is the curricular practical training. Curricular practical training, or CPD, may be available for students who secure an internship or practicum that is academic in nature and with sponsoring employers through a cooperative agreement with the school. CPT will only begin after the first academic year of study. So you must be in the United States and studying at the university for one academic year before you can apply for the curriculum practical training program. And this CPT is usually credit bearing in your major field of study. It might be a required work experience in your academic program, but must always be related to your academic program. And please note that you may apply for a period of CPT for each degree level in the United States. For example, after you complete an associate degree, a 2-year program, you can apply for the CPT, and then after you complete your bachelor's degree, you can also apply for another CPT, and then so on for your master and doctoral degree. The student for the CPT, the student must be on an F1 visa, and the employment must be authorized by a designated school official on campus. So check with your international student office before before you plan to take a CPT. In addition to the CPT or curricular practical training, there is also the optional practical training or OPT, which is pre or post completion of an academic degree. OPT may only begin also after 1 year of academic study in the United States. International students are allowed up to 12 months of OPT in the field related to your academic program to be used during your program or immediately after or immediately following your graduation. It is possible to extend OPT by 17 months if your major and work is in the field of science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM. And please note, you may apply for a period of OPT for each degree level in the United States, as is the case with the CPT. OPT is for students on F1 student visa or M1 visa. You must be recommended by a designated school official on campus and must be approved by the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service. Severe economic hardship can sometimes be authorized if a student can demonstrate that his financial hardship is caused by unforeseen circumstances beyond the student's control. International students may be eligible to apply after the first year of academic study. And as part of the application, you must document that on-campus employment opportunities are not available or are insufficient. And the student also must be on F1 visa, and then employment would be recommended by a designated school official on campus, but must be adjudicated or approved by the U.S. Citizen Immigration Service. Okay, and this concludes my session. If you have any question, please just type them in and I'll try my best to answer them. Thank you. Okay, apparently I have some problem with the audio. Okay. Uh, okay, I have a question here. I wish to know what are the minimum basic criteria for admission in US university from country like Pakistan? Well, we just discussed about the requirement to US universities, and it applies to all applicants from any country. So if you're applying from Pakistan, they will be requiring the same credentials such as your transcript, test scores, and a recommendation, and also personal statement, and it applies to all nationalities. Another question is, I have done BS, Bachelor of Science in IT 4 years program. I'm looking for scholarship for MS program. Well, as I mentioned before, there are many kinds of financial aids that you can apply to, and mostly you have to be specific about what programs you are looking for and identify the universities. And if you come to the Education USA Center in your country, they might give you the list of universities that provide scholarship in your field of study. Another question is, I wish to know what are the minimum basic criteria for academic in US university. Oh, sorry, we have discussed that. Another question is, should we use vocabulary in personal statements similar to that we have used in analytical writing section on the GRE? I think you could, well, I think you can use similar vocabulary in the analytical writing. In the analytical writing of the GRE section, as you would use it when writing your personal statement. We also have a session on the College Week Live about how to write an effective personal statement. So I would encourage you to attend that session too. Another question is, how can international students far away from the universities decide which university is the best for them after getting an admit from graduate school? Well, many of the universities have a virtual campus tour. So if you are looking if you're thinking in terms of the physical of the university, you can check that out too. And also about the program, on the university websites, they usually have the complete curriculum or programs described on their website. So you can just get any information you want about that university in particular, and even about the city where the university is located. The cost. Another question is the cost of education in the US is very high. It is costing 20 lakhs, which is pretty high for me. I'm looking for help in terms of scholarship or work, as I can invest a maximum of 10 lakhs. Well, as we saw on the charts that I provided earlier today, like 50% of the international students relied on their personal funding, and another 42% received aid from US university and colleges. If you can look at those universities that provide financial aid, you might be able to afford it, which with partial financial aid, I'm sure you can manage the cost. Other question is, what is the difference between OPT and CPT? CPT is curricular practical training, and it is usually mandatory. So if you're taking one program that says that it has a CPT portion to it, then you have to take the CPT. OPT is optional, practical training. Therefore, it is optional whether or not you take it. So for OPT, at the end of your educational level, say for example, you completed your master's degree, you decided that you want to work, you can apply for the OPT. And you can work in the United States for between 12 to 29 months, depending on your field of study. Another question, what is the most important thing the admission committee look for? Well, the admission committee usually look at all credentials as a whole. So there is no one most important factor or criteria that they are looking for. So your transcript, your test score, and your experience, working experience, or if you have teaching experience, it all counts towards your admission to that university. Some university even use a formula, for example, 200 or 300 by your GPA plus your test scores equal to their admission point. So all factors that they listed on their admission requirements counts towards your admission to that university. Another question is GRE necessary for admission in the United States? Well, it really depends on the university, and also it depends on your field of study. If you're going to the field under the MBA, then you might need to take the GMAT test instead of the GRE. But most of university will require GRE for their master's and doctoral degree program. So you should check their website, and you will know whether you are required to take the GRE or GMAT or some other test. Another question, my question is, can a student of social science or political science major work off campus during graduate study after a year maybe? Is there any restriction in the type of work or the length? As we mentioned earlier, there is the CPT program and OPT. For the social science, for the political science or social science, you can work off campus if it is CPT, if it is curricular practical training. Otherwise, you cannot work off campus. For optional practical training, you can apply to work off campus after you complete your study. So after you complete your master's degree. Okay, how can a student having engineering in computer science with 3+ years of experience get scholarship if he wants to pursue masters in a science? Well, as we discussed earlier, funding usually, and also the admission to a university usually depends on a match between the department and the applicant. So you should look for schools that offer the science program and apply, and prepare your personal statement. Prepare your personal statement describing your background, educational background, and your objective or what you are going to do in the earth science, and see if they have a match, if they can match your ability with their program, and if they have any funding available in that field. Another question is, when should I apply for assistantship? Before coming to the United States or after coming there? Okay, you can apply for assistantship before you go to the United States. Actually, when you apply for admission, you can also submit application for assistantship. That way, if they have the funding when you arrive the first year, you might be able to receive the funding start on the first year of your study in the United States. If you apply when you arrive in the United States, then you might receive the aid after 1 year of your study. Another question is GRE compulsory for PhD in computer science, human-computer interaction? Well, it really depends on the university. So you should check their website, because some university and department might require the GRE and some might waive the requirement. Are the international students required to take both GRE, IELTS, and TOEFL? Well, for GRE, it usually depends on the program. As for IELTS and TOEFL, you can take either one. So if you take IELTS, you don't need to take the TOEFL, or vice versa. Take the TOEFL and no need to take the IELTS. A question from Bangladesh. I did completed my degree called qualification in business administration. Is there any place for me for further studies? If you apply to universities in the United States, I'm not sure what the qualification in business administration level is in your country, but if you apply to the university in the United States, usually to start the master's program, you will need to complete a 4-year undergraduate program. So if you do that, then I'm sure you can be admitted in any of the accredited universities in the United States. Another question is, can we make a trade-off academic results by working experience? Many people said working experience doesn't count much in applying for financial aid. Well, as we discussed earlier, admission to US university doesn't depend on only one factor. So your academic results and your working experience will be taken into consideration when they consider your admission or financial aid. Another question is, do admission committee compare your personal statement with the analytical writing section of the GRE? Well, I don't think so, because it is two separate things. The GRE is intended to measure your potential for success in the first year of your study in the graduate, your success in the first year of your graduate study, whereas the personal statement usually used by the university to judge your character or personality and to see whether or not you are a good match for their programs. Another question is, which one should come first, looking for a scholarship or selecting a program or institution? I think you should decide on the program first before looking for the scholarship, because it is very difficult to give somebody a scholarship without knowing what program they are looking for, or what program they are going to attend at the university. Another question, what are the ways in which we can show availability of funds for getting an I-20 after getting the admit? Specifically, I have been admitted into Arizona State University. Well, usually you can ask for a bank statement, a statement issued by the bank stating that you or your sponsor have the funding for your intended study in the United States. And they usually the school will require a statement for funding of 1 year of study. Okay, I'm looking for a master in pharmacology for fall 2014. I did IELTS and my score is 7.5. I don't want to take, I don't want to go through GRE. Please suggest me the colleges where I can get admission on the basis of IELTS. Most universities in the United States will accept the IELTS score, but GRE is not the English proficiency test. It is test of potential academic, so it's a different test. You might need to take the GRE. But if you write to us, I have my email address on the PowerPoint. So if you write us, we'll try to compile a list of schools that don't require GRE. Oh, another question. Is it legal to work off campus in the first year of school in the United States? Um, well, if you're in the United States on a student visa, then you're not allowed to work off campus. Employment, legal employment is only uh, available on campus. So if you want to work on campus, you cannot work on campus on the first year of school in the United States. Can I get funding in the first semester if I'm an international student? If yes, how? Well, the answer is yes, you can get funding in the first semester, even though you are an international student, but you will need to apply before you go to the United States. So when you submit your application, you have to also submit application for the financial aid. Or if you receive the scholarship that for the first year, then you can get that scholarship for the first semester. Okay, I have a question regarding admission. Is it really necessary to prove language proficiency and having TOEFL certificate to submit required paperwork? Well, if you're in international students, then you usually are required to submit your English proficiency, proof of your English proficiency. So it can be in the form of a TOEFL scores, or you can take the IELTS test. Do we have to show the bank statement to the university or to the visa consular office? You have to show the bank statement to both the university before they can issue an I-20, and you have also to show a bank statement to the visa consular officer when you apply for your F1 student visa. Okay, as my time is up, for question that is an unanswered question, please just shoot me an email. I have my email address on the slide. So please just send me the email. I will respond to your question. Thank you.